Welcome to the Scale Builders Guild. Thanks again for watching. You're also watching Josh from Harley Designs. He's right over there. And you've got Rich Trujillo
Yes.
from Axial
Yes.
slash Horizon with us tonight, too. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. And Rich, thank you for joining us tonight. This is pretty exciting stuff.
Oh, my pleasure. Man.
Oh, my pleasure.
I enjoy watching you guys.
I enjoy watching you guys, so it's kind of fun to join up here and actually talk to you guys.
Who do you enjoy more, though?
Oh,
most important.
Who's your
favorite
kid?
Who's your
that's
favorite
easy.
kid?
Oh,
Who's your
that's
favorite?
Obviously, it's me.
That's
Yes.
without a doubt. Without a doubt. I mean, I
Okay,
could.
that changes all of the questions I have today.
I only have a little resentment from the old RC crawler days.
You know, listen. Forums were kind of the wild, wild west.
Right. No, you guys are now equal.
Oh,
That's
that's not
yeah,
good
that's-
for me.
I'll just.
I mean, one of us has a face for radio. That's
No, it's all good. It's all.
right. Right.
Yeah, we go way back. So it's funny to see how it's all transitioned from RC crawler days to this. So Josh used to be my nemesis, just busting my balls about the Viterra stuff all the time.
But before that, even low-C comp crawler days, because back before scale days, you were still in this.
You did not make my life easy when I had those worm gears that were cut wrong and the bad CV shafts.
My CV shafts breaking in my first 6 feet. I'm sure that being a little bit in the industry now, I can only imagine the headaches that those days
It was
caused.
a nightmare. Oh my god, it was a nightmare.
Well,
It was a
apparently we're getting
nightmare.
some serious
We can go on
audio.
about that some more. We can go on about
So
that
I'm
some
going to
more.
look into that real quick. I don't know where that could be coming from. Possibly the double NDI source. So let me turn that off real quick. That hopefully has helped. But then I bet you one of you is silent. Can you guys speak
I don't
up?
know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know if me either. I think I've got the same audio things going, so I'm trying to pull that up as well.
All right. Rich, do you want to say a couple more words here just to check it?
Oh, yeah. Test.
There we go. Cool. I think we're probably good on my end now. I've fixed that, so everyone else can follow along. Rich, why don't we start with a question from me? I'm kind of curious to know how long you've been with Horizon and then Axial as well, because I know that came into the Horizon mix later on.
Yeah, I actually started with Losi in July of '94, working in shipping and receiving department. I actually was buddies with Gil Losi Jr. He used to come down to the track that I managed, and I used to let them test. I ran for Associated at the time, and I had a kid, and I needed insurance, and I was working under the table. Not that it's matter. The taxes can't come after me now, IRS for that part. But I was working under the table way back in the day, and Junior, we just got to know each other and offered me a job in the shipping department so I can have medical insurance. So I've been with them since '94. In was it 16, 15 or 16? Yeah, 16. I got laid off. Things were kind of slowing down at Horizon. Surface was kind of in a weird spot, and quite frankly, I was over it, just kind of bitter. So I wasn't the nicest guy back then at that time to work with. So I was laid off, and then I joined RC Four-Wheel Drive for a year. Everything was awesome with those guys. I mean, I have zero complaints. The only thing that got me, ironically, with this time in front, the time that we're in now, is I absolutely could not stand working from home. And they were really cool about letting me work from home, and with the intention that eventually I would move to Visalia. But my sister had to move out of state. My parents were getting older, and it didn't allow for that. So I had to work from home. And then the opportunity came back up to go back and work for Horizon. So I've been back there now 3 years. And then joined.
That's
Yeah,
pretty
and then
great.
joined Axial. Yeah, then joined Axial 2 years ago.
Right. Okay. Yeah, because that's certainly a newer thing for you. But I think we can all agree that since you came over, there's been some very significant changes over there.
Yeah, without a doubt.
A couple of new vehicles under your belt now too, and that's pretty exciting as well. You were a big part of both the Capra and the SCX-10-3, is that right?
Yeah, so I actually started with the Wraith, the 55 Ford, the 6x6, and then in the meantime was doing the Capra and the SCX-10 III. So yeah, those are my two. But those are my main projects. But these the Capra and the SCX-10 III have been my bigger ones, you could say.
That's
for sure
amazing. They're all right. I mean, I'm not really a fan. I'm not really a fan of toy trucks at all. So
right. Yeah, it's been fun because the joining, because it's kind of funny. Here I was a direct competitor with the Axial guys. Well, at least I felt I was with the Viterra stuff against Axial. And I knew Matt and Brandon, I knew all those guys, and everybody's really cool. Jeff and John Schultz and all those guys. And so it's kind of strange when they kind of ended up joining us when obviously Hobbyco filed bankruptcy and we took over. But the transition was really good because it was already an established, relationship there with the guys. So it actually kind of worked out pretty well, and kind of getting them used to our system, to their system, that type of stuff, and it's been good. And I think one of the things that the biggest advantage with us taking over was the fact that, and I shouldn't even say take over, joining is really what it came down to, is that we were able to take advantage of our technical call-outs on our engineering side, as well as materials, which a lot of people have seen in the Capra and the SCX-10 III.
Yes, there's definitely been an improvement in the quality of the plastics. First in the Capra, and then now definitely in the STX-10 III. Certain compounds I've never even really seen before outside of the low-Z end of things, but like the new shock towers that are on this truck are definitely a much more robust plastic, and that's evidenced by most people having to tap those before they put any screws in.
Right. Yeah, that's been the challenge. Is like, that fine balance, and I'm sure Josh can relate when you're working on new vehicles and stuff. Is how do you come up with a material that's strong enough, but then you have to give for it's going to be a pain to thread a screw into it at the same time, and you do try to adjust the tolerances on the whole. But for the screw, sorry, I had something blink in my ear. It was a message for an email. Like the whole tolerances and stuff have to change a little bit for something like that. So you kind of give and take, and that's why I try to give everybody a warning about that. Take it easy or some grease.
And that's one other thing that we can quickly mention.
My audio.
Oh, great! Thank you for joining the conversation.
I let you have your moment. Except when I talk, and then all of a sudden it gets blown out again. But anyway, I've adjusted levels. We're about as good as I think I'm going to get. Okay. So I've let you have your moment now with Rich.
Thanks, Rich. I really enjoyed this conversation. I'll just head out now.
Right. Oh man.
Yeah, the whole plastics world is all different to me. Obviously we have Brandon who works for us, which was an Axial guy before, and he brought on a lot of that what he learned. But just still some of those differences, and just building one kit versus another. Like back in the day when the first Viterra kit came out that we got to use, I remember putting that thing together and how tight the hole tolerances were, but just how much more, rigid those things were as they went together, and it is cool to see how you guys have taken some of those things that you preferred and all of the other kits that you had done and moved that over now. So it's
that was the frustrating about the Viterra thing too, was that we had made such better materials, in my opinion, back then, and tightened up all the tolerance and stuff, but we missed on things that we didn't know about. We decided to use the twin hammers transmission, which had the reduction of the transmission, and we used the smaller, ring and pinion, which the designer at the time wasn't really aware of how the high point stuff worked and that type of stuff. So we struggled with the torque twist. And then we put the biggest, giantest body you could put on it to exaggerate that torque twist even more, which wasn't my decision for that body size. That was kind of the fun stuff in dealing as a project manager. Sometimes you have other people that you work with that have to want to make some of those decisions. So you got to roll with some of those decisions sometimes.
Yeah. And as times have changed and things like that, it's like that Viterra body of the day, maybe would have done a lot better now versus how it did then.
Right.
People have embraced more of the large body and things like that, and at the time there wasn't anything. There wasn't anything like driving that lunchbox through the rocks. Like
right. It was bad. It was so frustrating. I mean, there's been several of them, that I've struggled with. The Suburban, as a matter of fact, I oh my gosh, I couldn't stand that body. But you know what? It actually sold really, really well. I mean, I wish we could have done more. You know, I got beat up over the fact, well, I took the beating personally. Not that anybody knew it was me, but it's funny that we put that fourth door on the Suburban. Well,
Yeah.
please understand, Chevrolet reviewed the designs and approved it. I didn't know anything about a Suburban that they only have 3 doors. I didn't know that. You know, so, you know, as soon as it comes out, people are like, what the heck's this other door? I'm like, what are they talking about? Oh, man. So, you know, but that's some of the challenges that you're dealing with. I'm juggling, you know, back then it was 6 to 10 projects at a time, you know, including double colors or maybe different variations, but you're doing 6 vehicles, 7 vehicles at one time, all in different phases of the process. And then you have to watch for a fourth door that you would assume was there and you didn't. It wasn't. You miss, and then you get beat up over that. It's like, oh, I know it was bad.
See, if you just make nondescript, semi-relatable bodies and put those on kits, you can say it's whatever you want.
Right? Yeah, exactly. But then we get, why didn't they license it?
Exactly. No, it's honestly that, you know, the licenses and things that, you know, how nicely the you know, Jeep JL body is on the new SCX3 is fantastic.
Yeah,
it was,
you know,
done
it was
so
really
well.
cool.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. You know what I was going to say is that Matt Kearney, you know, he's a double AMCO owner now, Amco transmission owner, but that was a fun transition for myself as well, because he really pushed on those details. And, you know, we need to have this, we need to have that. And, you know, we all have these meetings and I want to do this, I want to do that. But then as a product developer, I also have to balance out what the budget's going to be for tooling. You know, I have to lay all that stuff out in cost. But luckily, Matt pushed for it, and I pushed for it too as a PD, and we were able to get a lot of those details in there. So, you know, Matt was a huge part of making sure those details were part of the project. That's for sure.
Well, that's
good.
Matt's
always had his own style as well, and you know, you can see it come through things, and
yeah,
you know, it's nice. You know, it does appear that Horizon puts a lot into, or you know, is fine with putting a lot into tooling of a project, which, you know, you can see a lot of other you know, so sometimes a lot of reuse is done just to keep tooling costs down, and
right.
You know, the new SCX 10.3 is all new basically, it seems, and so.
Yeah, it was you know, it was interesting that the Vitara was a real test at the beginning, because all the touring car stuff was pretty highly detailed in general. I mean, it didn't have an interior, but we did a lot of molded parts on it, and then we tried to do some of that with the Ascender line as well. But we didn't have a lot of success sales-wise, and so there was some tentativeness that we had to prove when it came to the Axial side, which they believed in Axial right off the bat. I mean, obviously they were excited about it. They wouldn't have bought it if they didn't think it could be successful. But you just have to change your mindset on some of the things you're willing to spend at the beginning to make it look better. So it's been really cool that the leadership has been supportive of throwing these extra details in there, making it happen.
Well, that's really good news. It's good to hear that, because at the corporate level, it's sometimes hard to understand what the enthusiasm for the enthusiast is all about.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and I think had a lot of expectations of this, you know, leadership at Axial, and
right.
So I know Horizon had big shoes to fill, and not everyone was going to be happy with that. So
yeah, and that was a tough transition as well, because, you know, you did have Axial, which was kind of a smaller run by itself business. You had, you know, John Schultz, you had all the guys that have been with it for so long, but obviously once a company ends up taking it over, I mean, the way our system works, it would be too hard to keep multiple people doing the same thing, that it just didn't fit. As a small company like that, it made more sense to have certain people doing so many certain things. But the way Horizon does it, we're a little bit more, for lack of a better term, efficient. And we try to, there's a reason why Horizon is as strong as it is. And I was part of it. I was cut, you know, a few years ago, because they made tough decisions on, hey, we need to tighten up the belts. Let's get the surface industry, or, you know, our RC industry where we need it to be. Let's stay healthy. and we were able to do that, and that put us in a position to acquire Axial. Unfortunately, some people couldn't stay. Some people decided to leave on their own. But the cool part is that Matt stayed for quite a long time to get the SCX 10.3 out. Randall is still around. Randall is a key part. He's the Mr. Jeep Adventures on Instagram and goes out and does all these Jeep runs. Scott Roberts, who did all the artwork, box arts, all that type of stuff, he's still involved. So that's why you still have that Axial flavor. But the other thing too is that I have that passion. I like to go off-roading. I like to be a part of that scene. I don't have a Jeep like freaking Randall has. He's always giving me a hard time for my Toyota.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate you own a Toyota.
But we're still trying to maintain that. It's one of those things that we're still trying to maintain that. And I think that we've been able to do a pretty good job so far. But there's still transitions. The marketing guys are a little different from how it used to be with Rodney and with John. I mean, it's kind of a different way of doing things, but it's not going anywhere, and we're going to take care of it and do the best that we can with the brand. So everybody who freaks out saying that everybody thought we were going to screw up Axial Fest. They were just waiting for that bomb to explode, and it's like. And
then of course with the unavoidable issue of the, Cisco Grove thing, it just fed into the fire. But last year I had a blast at Axial Fest, and there is a portion of the Cisco Grove part that is missed. Everybody, the camping is just so nice. However, the terrain and how the vendor area was set up and how all that went, I preferred the new location. It kind of brought everybody through. The vendors were all in a row where everybody walked through and met all day and talked, and that was great. And then the terrain, I think, on here is so much better than Cisco.
So more rocks.
It's a brutal climb for some of those guys. And all the stuff out there is just rad. It's just awesome.
Yeah, it definitely is.
But I agree, and we agree too. We wish we could go back to Cisco, but I know some of you guys have been there and seen how it looks now and what their plans are. It's just not going to work going back there again. So it's just it is what it is. But like I said, the Horizon staff, Andy and a bunch of the guys, I mean, they just want it to be kick ass. We busted our ass for 12 days solid straight through, and I thought it was pretty successful. We learned a lot, and we're going to definitely do a lot more for this year if it goes off. At this point, it's still on.
Right.
So I'm sure that's a question being asked. I can't see any questions or anything, but
we'll get to all the good ones.
Yeah.
I'm I know that's one of them, but as far as I know, and we have a weekly meeting on Thursdays with the team, we're still hanging on and hope that we can make them happen. But this situation is so unusual. Who knows?
Well, it's not like anybody's experienced a pandemic, so you kind of have to go with your gut, right? And if it happens, it happens, and if it has to be postponed, it gets postponed. And I think that more people are a little more easygoing with that idea nowadays than they would have been, say, last year. But I know I'm certainly looking forward to at least one of those Axial Fest events this year, and it's going to be a good time.
Yeah, I'm just hoping at least one, hopefully both, but man, it's sketchy. Who knows?
Yeah, I was gonna plan to try and make it to both, and if both of them happen, I still don't think I'll be able to make it to Badlands, just because I think at this point it'd be such short notice to try and travel. But I think it is cool that you guys did decide to do two. I think that the east half of the country will really appreciate that, because while there isn't as many people, the events in the Midwest and the East Coast aren't as big as a lot of West Coast events.
Right.
But that doesn't mean that there isn't still a lot of people who would enjoy it and have a lot of fun. So it's cool to see that.
Let me address a little bit of that, though. As close as we are to the East, there's a lot of East Coast people pissed off that we didn't go far east.
Oh yeah.
We got beat up pretty hard about that. But one of the things I want to address about that, while and hopefully some of those guys are watching, is it's not that we don't want to go to the East Coast or go wherever. It's just there was an opportunity at the Badlands. There's a chance to do a second event. It's closer for you guys on the East Coast, at least. Let's try that. But we don't have anybody established necessarily on the East Coast that could say, here's a venue, here's where we could do it, here's what's involved. the guys at Badlands, we have a relationship with it, and they're the ones that came up and say, hey, that'd be awesome if you guys did an Axle Fest here. All right, cool, let's do it. So we announce it, and then of course we got beat up that it's not on the East Coast. Guys, we'll get there. It's just we need to let's get this one by first, and then we can go further east. You know, it's someday it'll happen. But gosh,
yeah, you got to start somewhere.
And last year was the complaint that there's not going to be an Axle Fest, or it's going to suck and they're going to blow it. And then we come up with 2 of them, and now they're pissed that we're not going somewhere else. It's like you can't win.
I think you're always going to be fighting an uphill battle on where an event takes place, and I mean,
yeah.
The thing about the West Coast Axial Fest, the original Axial Fest, is that there's not a lot of places in North America that you can go and have that kind of event and that size of event and have the terrain to match.
Right.
And it's honestly, it's one of those things that if you've never been, it's one of those things I definitely recommend people go to, because it's not just about the trucks and the terrain, it's about the people, it's about the camaraderie, it's about the whole experience. And there's more to it than just tiny trucks, although that is a pretty big part of it.
Yeah, it's super fun.
Yeah, that's there's so much to that, and I know that the guys at Horizon had 1 year with the crew from the previous Axial Fests and getting to see kind of how that went. And Rich, you were there, I know, but within the RC4 Drive day, was that your first one?
Yeah, actually, well, I went to the original West Coast Challenge.
Yeah, way back
then.
2009.
But, yeah, and then I think that's what it was, man. It's a long time. I was just looking at pictures the other day, as a matter of fact, and found some from there. Polaroids, black and white. I had my little tent and my flash and stuff. Yeah. So RC Four-Wheel Drive, that first year that I went with them, I went two RC Four-Wheel Drive events, and then I did the one after that with Axial for our first time. But that one I wasn't really a big part because we had just transitioned into ownership of Axial.
Right.
John and all those guys were doing their thing. I just came along to kind of help out, and we kind of just watched, really. I mean, I just got to hang out and drive a little bit and do what I could to help out.
Yeah, something had just released at that. Oh, the Blazer had basically just come out at that point.
That's right.
Yep. I remember. Yeah, you had your race paint theme on everything.
Heck yeah, same job, dude. Hey, I can't paint for crap. And I got Bradley Fine Line Designs. So I'm going to throw a shout out to him. He's been painting my bodies for years. So I'm just going to use those colors, and that's it. It's my race job. It's everything I get. I don't care if it's scale or not. I'm running my flames.
Yeah, it's on your Unimog. It's on your Jeep. It's on your Bomber. It's on everything.
Every car I've got my phone there. So, it's my deal.
Do you have for anybody?
That's the extent we have an interior.
True. Okay, that's fair. But for anybody who hasn't seen it, do you have one handy? Did you bring one home?
I have
it's one of his Raptors behind him. Like, I can see it from here.
Hey, there it is.
I got that. And then I don't know if you can see it, but up there's my old Triple XT race body.
Nice.
I got my com crawler box back there.
What's a
com? It's kind of like way behind me back there.
Yeah. Let me tell you, Matt.
I don't care about com crawlers, so we'll just stop that conversation.
It's funny if you want. Well, I don't mind talking a little bit about that com crawler issues. Like I said, with Harley used to give me a pretty hard time back then. But I'll tell you what. One of the funny stories was, so I did all the testing. We spent tons of time testing. Everything is solid. Everything works great. We get the crawlers. They come out. Get them out there on the market, and all of a sudden people are like, my worm gears are melting my axles. I'm like, what is going on?
Right.
And I could not figure it out. Luckily, some guy on the board, and I don't think it was you, Harley, it was someone else, I think,
definitely
had discovered and noticed that the worm gears, Josh, they call it Harley. One of the worm gear angles were off. So I'm like, what the heck? Well, I opened up 5 vehicles and ran them. And I should have bought a lottery ticket because not one of them had a problem. And then I released them to production or to, release them from the warehouse. They're good to go, ship them. Well, it turns out that the machine shop that was cutting the worm gears had a new guy working on the machine. Now, whatever jig they had set up, however they did it, apparently he had it in backwards. He cut 550, I think, of those worm gears backwards. I was like, oh, flip the thing. However the tool, I mean, you would know, Josh. I don't know how all the tooling works and that stuff. Flipped it, correct in the same box. So then they went to heat treat. They got black oxided, and then they were all tumbled and mixed. And so it was random when you got a bad one. That's why not everybody had a bad one. On top of that, when they went to cut the axle shafts or the CV shaft itself, they ended up using a cutting tool, like a blade, instead of a ball end mill, I think is what they're supposed to use. So it cut into the neck of the drive shaft. And I see people starting to break, and I'm like, what the heck? I get a sample. My son is like 2 years old. I'm all, here, turn this. He goes, pink. I'm like, oh my God. Dude, I probably spent, I would say, 3 weeks, 4 weeks maybe, myself, repacking parts and personally sending them out myself because our customer service was too busy doing all our other vehicles. I personally packaged every replacement part that I sent to every person I could get a hold of through RC Crawler, through lowc.com, through our customer service. That was a nightmare because it was a solid rig. It just got killed with those two big issues, and it was hard to come back from that.
And back in when that kind of came out, worm gears are, they're kind of inherently a little bit more inefficient, just with how much contact wear there is. And it was kind of in the days, like, what was it? Jay Robinette, was he one of your guys?
Yep.
I can't remember, what was his Rubberneck on
RCC? Yep.
Him and Jake back in the day, they were like kind of some of the first, they were running brushless systems. And that, because back then we didn't really have a brushless system that had anything like a drag brake, but a worm gear axle doesn't need a drag brake. Like, yeah, we're running brushless, these 17.5s, and we're like, brushless in a crawler? You're crazy. This is ridiculous. Why should I ever run a brushless system and just some of those things, how they come with age, It's,
yeah, it was something. It was really, like I said, it was a fun rig to drive. It just, it got hurt. I mean, it goes to show, I mean, I learned a lot too, and you try to cover all those potential issues as much as you can, but it's still going to happen. We've gotten better at it, but that comm crawler, that was a nightmare.
It was so far outside of any of the norms, Was it? Yeah. I can't remember if it was before or after the Kyosho Rock Force with worm gears.
The Rock Force came out before.
Did it? Okay.
We actually didn't even have a sample. We just, the engineer at the time, he was the one, when we were talking about it, we wanted to come up with a nice compact gearbox. You know what? I'll tell you another interesting story too. I had the first opportunity to bring in the Berg, the en route Berg.
Yep.
I got one of the first samples, and they wanted us to carry it as a low C crawler. And we got it. I tested it. It had the Claude stall on it, and I kind of drove it. And I was like, you know what? I was so traditionalist. I was like, these motor and axles are stupid. We're going drive shaft. And then we wanted the ground clearance, so we went with the worm gears. And it's like, dude, I ended up going the total opposite direction of where it ended up. I even made the mistake of going with standard hardware and not metric hardware because Losi was all standard back in the days. So, I'll admit, everything I could do, I picked backwards. We could have done the Berg first, but it just, now, dude, I just
that is one thing. Was there any truth? Did Losi end up purchasing Berg at some point, or purchasing the rights to distribute parts for them?
No, Horizon, I think Horizon had it for a little while.
Yeah,
they were carrying some parts, but no, we didn't end up with any exclusive or anything like that. I remember hearing that story, and I was like, I don't know about that.
I never saw anything that came to fruition that made me think that was true, but I had heard it, and I always wondered.
Yeah, I remember that story. Yeah,
my favorite part about this whole thing, though, is just watching Matt as he's trying to not glaze over and feign
I am
interest
so bored. You have no idea how bored I am right now. I'm dying of boredom. I don't even want to. I'm like, I might as well just turn this off because this is so uninteresting to me. I mean, I'm glad you guys are having a good time. I really am. I did want to say real quick, it's really good news that Rich is at Axial now, because he's on the phones every day handling all of the tech support issues you have. So he can talk to you for 45, 50 minutes every day. He's got lots of time.
Well, we have his cell phone to give, right?
Yeah.
Just in case the lines are busy.
Yeah. We'll give them the direct line, Rich, so they can always get a hold of you. I think we're getting a little buffer.
I get all the, you know how it is, Josh.
Right now, we've got our shipping guys out, so some of us are handling shipping, which also means that some of us are handling the phones. So I'll answer the phone and I'll be talking. They'll be like, "Who is this?" This is Josh. Like, hey.
I know you from the internet,
right? Or they're all, man.
Exactly.
You know what? I'll call back later. It's okay. There was one question from one of our viewers here, actually a couple of viewers, and I don't know if you can answer this or not yet, Rich, but they were asking about different wheelbase options for the SCX-10 III, and if there would be a longer wheelbase available at some point.
Yeah, so we got, there's 2 sets of links that'll be coming out. We're working on getting those things out there right now to make the wheelbases actually shorter. I'm sorry, not longer, but shorter. So we do have those 2 in process, so that way you can at least use the same size type of links, shorten up the wheelbase, and get the 12-inch and the 11.6 or 11.7. I can't remember off the top of my head. So we do have those. Those will be coming. Some people are going to ask, well, why can't you make it super long? Well, the problem is if you try to shorten it up, then you start bumping into the frame rail to get the super short wheelbases if you had an even longer frame rail set.
Got it.
So you lengthen it out. Yeah, you can technically slide it out, but you're missing one of the mounting points on the skid plate, which maybe you can throw a washer in there. Maybe you could, I don't know how you want to do it. If they really want to do that.
Start having Toyota problems.
Yeah, you can have Tacoma problems. Exactly.
You put Toyota body on it.
It'll work perfectly.
I had another question that came into me specifically for you, Rich, and that was to inquire about smoke detector batteries.
Oh my gosh, dude! I actually, if I open my garage door, you can hear it. My neighbor has had his smoke detector battery dead for probably 18 months now, and it beeps every 30 seconds, and it's right above my bedroom. And it's actually become just so ridiculous. I don't even want to go buy him a 9-volt battery. I just want to see how long he will live with this thing like that. It's just beep every 30 seconds, 24 hours a day. And they live in the house, the room. I can hear it. The window's open. There's people that live in that room. And it's like, dude, I don't know how they do it. But yeah, so it's been a running joke for quite a long time of just, I randomly will go up every month so and say, let's see, is it on? Click. You'll hear it. Yep, still on. Post it on my Instagram. Yeah, he still has the Christmas lights up. He still has like used bicycles. And keep in mind, I live in a decent neighborhood. It's actually a nice little neighborhood, but you have that one neighbor, and I got that one neighbor with 16 cars and the Christmas lights, and he has a barbershop. His son built a barbershop in the 3rd garage. And like all of a sudden, they're renters. So they moved in. All of a sudden, there's a whole bunch of cars, like random people. And I'm like, what the hell? So I called the cops because I have people just sitting out in front of my house. Well, I finally discovered they had an indoor barber shop. This guy's cutting hair. So the landlord comes by, and I tell him, and they bought it simply for an investment. I said, hey, you have there's a barber shop being run out of that house. He's like, well, at least they're not selling drugs.
I mean, I
guess you're right.
Yeah, it's true. It's not wrong.
Holy cow. And don't get me wrong, they're really nice people, but they just don't care. They just park this way and that way on the yard, and they have the dirt patch in the front yard and the Christmas lights hanging down. That they didn't even carry the Christmas lights all the way across the front of the garage. Like it went like 3/4 of the way, and they just, we're out of Christmas lights, so there it is. And they had them on for like 3 days before Christmas, and then they've just been hanging there since. So that's my world. I'll give you another example of how clueless they are. He actually does. They do power washing, like that's his business. He does power washing stuff. Like 10 o'clock at night, I hear it fire up. What is he doing? He's power washing the backyard and all around the side of the house at 10 o'clock at night on like a Tuesday. Like, what are you doing? He's, oh, sorry, so sorry. I'll turn it off. The landlord was coming the next day, and he didn't want them to see all the junk on the side of his house, so that's why he power washing at 10
yeah.
night.
Polishing the junk, if you will.
Yeah. That's my story. At least I got to talk a little bit about it.
Who asked about
those are my
that?
neighbors. Luckily,
How's that a question?
well, he
How's that a
came up
question
with that fire extinguisher with the fire smoke alarm. Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah. Oh, let's see. I did finally get my SCX 10.3 finished, so that I will be able to finally get that running. I haven't driven mine
Oh,
yet.
Josh.
Oh, really?
So
Come on.
YouTube. Yeah,
How'd
hey,
the
not
paint
all
come
of us
out?
got it
I
a
knew it was
month
going to be
early.
orange.
Yeah,
Yes,
shocker,
very
it's orange. Are you gonna show it off here? Go get it. Here we go. Oh, it's okay. All right. I didn't know it was metallic. That looks much better than the pictures that you sent me earlier.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Closer.
Wow. Is that
Close.
Harley a sticker?
I
or
forget.
is it
I'm looking at my big camera that's not working right now. Instead, forget that I'm looking at this webcam.
No, the big camera's
And
working.
then you see there's a little.
There you go. Oh, yeah.
Look at that. Oh, the driver's all
Oh,
detailed.
he's got a beard.
Yeah, it's got a beard. It's got a beard and everything.
Nice. My guy still has a black shirt or a white shirt. That's been it, and I haven't done anything else to him.
Well, I've got my own head in mind.
So let me ask you this, Matt. How long have you been? So you're not obviously a comp guy.
No.
You've just always been scale stuff.
Yep. Pretty much.
How long have you been doing that?
I got my first Tamiya kit when I was, 14, probably, and that's 26, 27 years ago, 28 years ago.
Oh, okay.
I've been doing it for a little while, but not, I didn't really get into comp stuff until, not that long ago, really. Comping is, but on the scale comps side of things, I never did any comp crawlers stuff.
Okay.
But 10, 11 years of comp stuff, give or take. I'm not good.
Okay.
I'm not good at it, but I enjoy it.
True.
Right. Yeah.
Listen,
True.
Just yeah. Thanks, Josh. I appreciate that.
I'm not either. I just like driving them, and that's it. But I can't. You get me into comp, I get the shaky hands, and I just fall apart. So
yeah,
I just
comps aren't for
drive
everybody.
around my own.
They're not for everybody, but
Yeah.
it does put a whole different kind of spin on the hobby. I think to compete in something that has to look like a real truck, but also has to perform not at all like a real truck. I think that's a fun challenge. That's what I like about it.
Yeah, I'm actually getting a little scared as to what's happening to the category, just because I was part of the comp crawling side of it, and I saw that die just because, the MOAs killed it, in my opinion. But, I've been seeing, as, out here by my house, this Southridge Park is by my house, there's a lot of crawling, people who like to go crawling up there, a lot of the clubs go up there. And I've been checking out some of the lines that they've been putting up there, like they put little marks on them. And it's okay for them to do it there because they run downhill mountain bike races, so they paint arrows and stuff, so it's not too bad. So the guys paint the marks, and I'm looking at these lines like, oh my god, this is like comp crawler days. How are they doing this in scalers?
Right.
And I worry that that's the direction it's going, that we're going to comp ourselves out of this category, which is so much fun because it's just chill, the way it started.
I know what you mean, and I think that, well, in a lot of ways, I think that we're seeing some of the, the kits that are available now are so much more. Some of these kits out of the box now are more capable than some of our early comp rigs. Like, if you remember, the tires were so much better, suspension geometry, weight placement, all of that is just better. But, then there is the side of things, specifically the flat rail chassis, and like that flat rail chassis, uber lightweight, barely to the letter of the rules. and I'm poking fun at flat rail chassis, but that's, it's like that nature of things, of that super scale, and that side of it, it will continue to get pushed, and then it will likely die.
Yeah.
But I think that these two paths kind of live on at the same time, and like I think that 99% of the cars that are ever sold are never going to be in a comp.
Right.
And so that
I guess
comp side will push things, and it'll help drive some technology, that we use.
Right.
Dig is something
we've
used forever. Overdrive is something that's been a thing forever in comp crawling. Some of these things that are being new to scale rigs are not new at all. We've been doing them since you and I were arguing on RC crawler 15 years.
Right. I think the part that scares me though is like when you go to some of these little events and get-togethers. The fun part when it first started was that everybody's rig kind of sucked, and they could kind of get around, climb over stuff, put some weight in the front tires, call it a day. Excuse me. But now I worry that, like I saw with the comp crawling, is that you have these guys totally tricking out these rigs, pulling lines, and some guy comes up with his SEX-10-2 or his TRX-4 or whatever he might have, and now he can't do that stuff, and they kind of get deterred a little bit, like, why am I wasting time coming out here? The funnest part about crawling for me, because I've done everything. I've done all the racing stuff, touring car, gas racing. I managed a team. I traveled all over the world. I saw that part of it, and that's what I loved about crawling, was that it's like a group hanging out, chilling, having a good time, and it wasn't so crazy competitive, and everybody was a part of it. And it still is, don't get me wrong. I mean, everybody's still really cool. I just worry that we might start getting it too far to the comp side and start intimidating people where they don't want to come out with their stock car and play. Well, even though we're making it better.
The benefit,
the S410, the 610-3,
they are super capable. But what I think is really great about this hobby is that it is evolving in such a way that we're getting away from even class 2, 3. Class 1 is seeing a big resurgence, and Class 0, which isn't officially recognized by the governing bodies yet, is becoming a huge thing. And those courses are easy. You could run them in box, stock, whatever, but they're making it more about the scale appearance and the scale realism, and making it more about the scale points and less about the actual capability of the vehicle. And I think that gives people who want to still have fun a great opportunity to participate in that style. You do have to keep some of these things in check. Like Class 3 isn't as popular as it used to be. I can say that, right, Josh?
I don't know. I mean, I think that all of the classes probably have as big a numbers as they ever have, just because of the growth of the hobby. But I don't, I think that, yeah, it's not like percentage-wise of people that are interested. Maybe you don't see it as much.
Did the Scale Net sell out all 3 classes? There was 3 classes, right? Or was there 4?
There's 3 classes.
Yeah. Did they sell out all 3?
No, I don't think. No. I don't think Class 3.
Class 3 didn't sell.
And I don't know if Class 1 sold.
It didn't.
Did Class 1?
No, I don't think so.
So,
okay.
Which is pretty typical, Class 1. And again, it's kind of the nature of the competition side. It's the comp side of scale trucks is never the most popular side of it, because, I mean, the thing is, like, you can throw a 5,000 milliamp battery in this thing, and you can literally just go drive for 3 hours at an event, and you don't know who won.
No,
it doesn't even really hardly matter.
No, and Axial Fest is a great example of that. Just driving all day long, having fun with your friends, pulling a few goofy lines just for the sake of doing it. Like Josh and I and a few other guys, Brandon and Chino, we would just go out, and it would be follow the leader. And provided you didn't blow it, when you did blow it, you got to the end of the line, and you just kept going. And it was just laughs and good times. And that, for me, is still always the most important part. Comps are fun for entirely different reasons. I like the challenge of trying to build within the rules. But the majority, like you said earlier, Josh, the majority of these trucks, when they're purchased, they will never see a comp. And most people will probably just be totally ignorant to the fact that they even exist. This hobby is way bigger than just the small group that are on the forums.
And then they hear people, refer to all these things, C1 and C2, and they start seeing like a manufacturer come out with a truck like this, and like, well, if they would have, that's not going to be
C2 legal.
Legal,
right?
For one, that doesn't matter because the rules are made for this very small. While I really enjoy competitions and going to them and participating, like big picture, they don't really matter that much,
right?
Yeah. They matter in like this in just some small certain ways. Like if I'm pro line, I'm not going to come out with a tire that's 4.8 inches tall. Like why? Like just make it 4.75 and fit a rule.
Yeah.
Like
right.
But it's not going to also deter me from making this 5.5 inch tall 1.9 bogger because it doesn't fit well in C1 or C2 and it's a poor choice for like whatever. Like it's a pretty small niche. And
well, I guess at the same time too, that's the same thing like with the Jeep body, the Jeep choice. We got beat up by some hardcore people about another Jeep. Mm-hmm. Well, sorry people, Jeeps sell.
Yes.
And that's my job. My job is to sell a lot of product. And what, the JL was pretty cool. We did some cool stuff with it. But we got beat up, and I knew it. We knew it. We knew when we were saying, hey, we're going to do a JL, that they're like, oh man, people are going to be complaining about it being a Jeep. But you know what? And like you guys are saying, the majority of people don't ever see a comp course. And when they walk in and can recognize a vehicle, they love it. And that's why they go for it.
Yeah. Hey, the majority of real Jeeps won't see a comp trail either.
That's true.
And you guys have a good variety of bodies and things like that anymore. Well, obviously the SCX3 just came out, so not there. But coming out with the old Ford and then a UMG, the Blazer. You guys were covering bases pretty well.
Yeah, I'd
say it's pretty fun because. Yeah, I was gonna say is an RC crawler. I put up a post for fun to see like what body set would you guys like next, which is I know it's just holy cow. But I did preface it with, hey, I've got 3 licensors right now you can choose from. Give me some ideas for that, and then your dreams. So everybody who says Toyota, I know there's one right there. You think I don't want to make a Toyota truck? I'd love to, but they're hard to get a license. But then it's funny because you have everybody so passionate about, I want my
their
Dodge
1994 Dodge Dakota because my dad has one.
An S10 and this and that.
89 Ford Ranger.
And that's what I try to. I try to tell the guys like, I like them too. They think they're cool, but I got to sell a ton of them, and so I need to go tell the people cutting the checks like, yeah, we want to make some oddball car, and it's like,
right.
I don't know about that.
We're not going to make the 94 Dodge Ram or the 96 Cavalier. Like, neither of those are on the table.
Exactly. So, but it was pretty fun to see what people came up with and what they like to see. But I made sure it was clear. It was for fun. It doesn't mean it's going to happen. I'm curious to see what you guys think is going to sell. And I actually prefaced it too with saying, pretend your job was on the line. Would you recommend this one? And it still had a lot of people that said, for sure, you got to do this one. You'll sell 1 million of them. I know, guys, but it doesn't work that way all the time.
Yeah, I'm positive that I have 0 1994 Dodge Ram owners still subscribers to my channel after how many times I've used that example of a terrible choice.
They're all just smashing the unsubscribe button. They're like, just do it! I can't. Son of a...
Oh, man.
Although
or they say just to give that thumbs down.
Yeah.
Thumbs down, stick around for that.
I went through that thread.
I
went through that thread on RCC just to see what some of the choices were, and there's some not bad ideas in there, I have to say. There's a few that I would definitely put my job on the line with being successful, but I'm not going to say which ones they are because
I mean, if we weren't talking Jeep Gladiators, obviously high on my want list, a proper Gladiator. I know it's hard to do, but with our standard wheelbases, you have to do whatever you got to do. But then there's like the classic wheelers that you see, early Broncos, and those are the ones that I like because I like the full size world, and I like what guys build good looking rigs out of, not just what you see on the, like you see a lot of things on the trail, like I'm not saying because you see it on the trail, I want to see a model of it.
Right. Yeah. For me, it'd be a flat fender Jeep. I like to do like an old Willys Jeep. And it was kind of cool to see that one that just came out, that pretty detailed one. Yeah. I like that one. It's pretty cool. The body, at least, I like the way that looks. It's one I'd like to do. Unfortunately, if I was to get that, it's another Jeep, So we are going to mix it up. We've got some cool stuff in the pipeline that we're going to change up, but eventually I'll get my flat fender Jeep. That's what I wanted. So someday we'll do one.
Yeah, that's there's still a lot of options, of course. Yeah, some people are. This always gets a bunch. There's some great suggestions here in the chat. I'll say 76 Trans Am, Pontiac Aztec.
Oh my God, the Pontiac Aztec. That's my buddy Anthony's favorite car. He thinks that is the coolest car in the world. Oh my God.
I mean, they're not cool. You can sleep in it, and they have a tent. So, I mean, there's that.
Yeah.
It's funny is I got to see that prototype in person of the Aztec when they were showing it around as a yellow one. I remember it was out here at California Speedway way back in the day. We were there for a GM thing or something, and I was like, "Oh, this thing's pretty cool." Then the production one came out. Oh man, talk about getting things cut and chopped, and that's not going to work in the budget. So that was pretty bad.
That's trying to actually choose the body and move forward. That's always a rough one, I'm sure.
I'm sure you guys focus group those ones for months and months and months before you even land on something that would be an option.
Yeah, and then the next thing too is that once we do that, we have to either, if we're using one of our current partners, we have to go back in and work through the licensing, and that brings our legal team in, their legal team, back and forth. How much are we going to get percentage-wise? Blah blah blah. It's not as easy as everybody makes it, cracked up to be. That's the challenge of working with licensed type vehicles. And then on top of that, depending on who the licensor is, you're dealing with approvals. Some take a week. Some take 3 weeks. Some request the actual sample. Some request just a 3D view. I mean, it's just all over the place. And then, quite frankly, RC is such a small little category for them of licensing compared to like Hot Wheels or all these other Jada and all these other toy companies, that you're not always a priority on their list. I mean, it's money. They want that money, but that makes it tough sometimes when you're working on tight schedules to make things happen. So sometimes it's kind of hard to go out and get a new body done, and it's not a quick, cool, let's just do it, design it. And
It's not like you just call them up and go, excuse me, Jeep, can we do a JL? And they just go, yeah, sure. And then you hang up the phone. There's a lot more to it than that.
I would say from start to finish on negotiating an addition to a contract would probably be as little as 3 months, sometimes 6 months. Just depends on how busy they are and what they got going on and getting the legal terms correct.
I'm sure if you called right now, they'd be more than happy to talk to you. There's probably not a lot going on anywhere.
Yeah, so I'm sure they'd be.
I think we had a good question here that I think that could really set the tone for the rest of the conversation. And that is, Rich, your personal opinion on leaf springs.
Okay.
Specifically in something similar to or along the lines of an SCX-10, 3, 2.
Man. Okay, so when I was at RC Four-Wheel Drive, I will say I did like driving a leaf spring rig. I enjoyed it, the technical part of it. I did.
The inability to do technical
things.
Is
stop!
Right. There was some of that stuff. It was challenging because, quite frankly, you get these four-linked rigs and they can crawl over anything pretty easy. So on that part of it, I liked it just from a challenge. But then I've also 32 years, my whole life of RC, or 34, however many years it is, 38 years.
It's a long time.
But the challenge is, that would just sit on the shelves.
I like how you gave a 10% market share to that.
That's just my, yeah. I mean, that's
brave.
I mean, I know I might get beat up for that, but I like leaf springs. I had fun. I really liked them, and it was a challenge running leaf springs. And I'll tell you something too. Um, we were working on the Ascender 2.0 before we acquired Axial, and we had it set up with leaf springs and four link. Yeah.
What?
But it was already in. Yeah. Well, those options you could. It was all built off one. You could choose leaf spring or you could go linked on it.
The reason that makes me chuckle so much is just because of how many like diehard Patera fans and now leaf spring fans, like their hopes and their innocence
just crushed,
exploded and died inside.
I know. I'm so sorry, people, but we did have it. Like the bad part was it was when I came back and it had been designed by an outside source. It was bad. It was bad. And then Matt and the guys from Axo came on board and we're like, here, take a look at this. So like, ooh, geez.
Yikes.
So we experimented with possibly making it happen, but the thing is, it's not easy to make two work in one. Trying to do a leaf spring rig on a linked rig is really tough, just with the points where the leaf springs have to be and all that type of stuff. So
it's a challenge.
It's tough.
Yeah.
It's tough.
No, that's
you guys can't see it.
But to answer your question, I mean, I do like leaf springs, but
it's
a tough sell. It's a tough sell.
Yeah, no, that's along the lines of what
you guys can't see it
because the BS410 leaf spring coming out, right?
You guys can't see it right now, but I've got my TF2 on the bench, and I'm flexing it out on a 1-2-3 block right now. Okay. So I've got lots of flex on this.
Which way is the 1-2-3 block sitting?
Height-wise, it's on the height, not on the width.
Okay.
I just want to show you. This is a good performing truck. It's well engineered.
No, I had like I said, I actually worked a little bit on the Marlin project with RC 4-wheel drive back then, and the Forerunner body and some of that stuff, and I love playing with my leaf spring rig. It's just they're really focused at the scale guys, and the scale market, and that's their niche that they own. And so it works really well for them, and that's where people can go if they want their leaf springs. It's just harder on my side when I'm trying to sell. RC 4-wheel drive doesn't sell big quantities, but just the way our distribution works, it'd be tough to really push a leaf spring vehicle right now. Maybe something we could do in the future. We could look at it. I'm never going to say no, but it's just tough when you have a lot of dealers that aren't trained.
Be a lot cooler if you did.
Yeah, I know. It's one of those things.
It'd be a lot cooler if you said.
It's funny that a lot of these dealers, though, they're just not trained in this type of stuff either, and they need to be able to do a simple sale. And when it comes in, if it can rock, crawl, and they don't have to give an excuse like, well, it's not going to flex that much. They don't want to tell consumers that.
Right.
And so that's where my challenge comes into. I'd love to do a leaf spring rig, but a 4-link's going to sell better. So,
Agreed.
But I'm not saying we're not going to do it, but I can tell you we're not doing it right away. I can tell you that. But
so it might. So what you're saying though
is
that there is a chance.
You're saying there's a chance.
Yep. Excuse me.
I'm having
next subject.
I'm having let's get off of this topic altogether. I'm having a lot of streaming issues. I'm getting a lot of
Matt,
sayings that it's not good quality tonight.
Yes, your stream technology is about as advanced as your leaf spring preference.
So what I might do, is it something where can I like end this stream and then start another one if I reset my modem? Is that something that would be amenable?
I think that you can get back into your stream, but I can't tell you that.
Let's see if it happens. I'll reboot. You guys can talk about whatever on our channel. I'll try to come back. So give me a second here, guys.
At least you can come back into my feed on the Skype. So.
Exactly. All right. If it ends, it's been a lot of fun. I'll see you guys in a minute.
He was involved somewhat and did a lot of background stuff. He knows about all these other little things that they make. So that's kind of helping all of us to make that transition.
And I think that having somebody like Randall, who's got the full size experience, is such a benefit. You know, I know Randall's been a spotter in We Rock since way before I knew who he was, or I don't even know if he was at Axial yet at the time. You know, I watched him back in We Rock back in the, you know, him and Cody Wagner competing in We Rock way back. So and that, you know, that's being able to see Jeeps and see what would be a cool detail or things like that to maybe get in before the design is done and push for is nice.
Yeah, and it's cool that we're able to see that now too with the now that he's a product developer on the Axial side, he's able to put in a lot of those details. So it's been fun working with him. He and I bouncing off each other. You know, mainly it's Randall and I right now on the SEX10 and Axial, the scale side. Like I said, Chris Higa's doing the monster truck side. So he and I have been having a lot of fun going back and forth, and it's cool too because he and I do have different paths of things that we like and we don't like. Like sometimes he'll be super hardcore about a certain detail, while my side of my experience with product development over 10, 12 years, like, hey, Randall, I don't think they're going to notice that little one. Maybe we could do that. But then there's times that he's like, hey, we really need this detail. So it's been a fun balance to learn working with him and all the details. He knows all this stuff. I know from my history of working it together. It's pretty fun.
If we see a new SCX3 RTR come with flames on it, we'll know what happened.
Yeah, you'll know who won that. You'll know who won that one. Yeah. I wouldn't even do that to you guys, so don't worry about it. There won't be any RTRs with flames. I've already got a few box tops, but that would drive Randall nuts. So.
Yeah, it's you know, it'll be interesting to continue to see how things are, you know, developed, and seeing something like a portal axle version come out on the SCX3 first with a Jeep. You know, it's like that's something that, you know, Randall as a full size guy, I could imagine probably wasn't his preference, but the market is what it is.
And again, that would have been my first explanation I would have had to give into the sales staff and the dealers. Well, why doesn't it have portals?
Right.
They don't know the difference. They don't know why. They don't get it. They just know that, well, the TRX4 has portals.
Right. Why doesn't it have a 2-speed?
Pretty good. Yeah.
Right.
And you know, and that's why, like, we have the 2-speed on there. It's only 40% quicker. It's not really fast. And I agree with you, Josh. And actually, Matt, I think we're all on the same page. We don't need the 2-speed. Yeah. It's not a big thing.
I get it. It's a feature list, and it's
and that's what it had to have out there. And yeah, it needed to have that box ticked, and it works, and you can use it if you want to. But you know, from where I come from, I didn't really need it, but we needed to do it. So that's some of the things those decisions you have to make when people are like, why do they do this, and they should have done this, and blah 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 blah. You know, there's people we think about this stuff, and we spend a lot of time going back and forth and trying to balance out the hardcore guys, middle guys, to the people who are beginners, and trying, okay, well, what's it going to take and what do we do? So that's the challenge. And you know, on the Vanquish side, it's kind of similar, but you guys have a slightly different thing because you're on a higher level with materials and metal axles, and
it's a very different game.
Yeah.
You know, it's hard to, the same decisions have to be made, but in a completely different way.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I mean, we all want to sell them as many vehicles as we can, but you do have a little bit of room to play on the material side, techie side, price point side. You guys can get away with some of that stuff because it's, you know, there's different levels of it.
You know, the question here, I mean, I think we know the answer, but it'd be interesting to just hear the explanation coming from you, Rich. Is it says, do RTRs sell better than kits?
Yes.
Right.
Yes, they just do.
And you know,
that's not really a shocker for anybody.
I don't know, like, no, I you know, I don't think. I think that's just, it's a pretty obvious one that it's kind of the nature of consumers at this point. And honestly, myself, I a lot of times prefer an RTR. Like, But for me, it's a time thing. Like, if I get a new vehicle here, I want to be able to just go, okay, here it is. Here's what we're gonna start working on. I'm gonna start doing this and this and this. But at least it's together and shit.
It's funny, and I didn't think you'd want one of those pre-built SEX 10.3s, so that's why we arranged to send you a kit that you had to build. But you probably would have enjoyed that pre-built one.
It'd be done by now.
I would have both sides. It would have been done by now. But at the same time, I do get like, it is nice to see the first one and get build.
Right.
I don't think I would have ever been able to. I would have had to do twice the work because I would have torn it completely apart and then bring it all back together.
And that's one of the things too that I wanted to bring up for some of the people that are watching is I can't believe how much time you two guys spend on this stuff. It blows my mind. I mean, it's my hobby too, but it's also my full-time job. So at the end of the day, I like to take a break and shut it down and go do something else. But yeah, dude, it blows my mind how much you and Matt work on stuff. It's just crazy. And I see it. It's what's cool is that it inspires me. And then I come out after I've just been doing it for 9-10 hours for the day. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not doing anything. I'm gonna make mine like a RTR and go run it. That's it.
Yeah, and I've been full time in this now since 2016. So,
right.
4 years and change, whatever. But I've worked in the business, like design wise since like 2009 to 2007, like back in the early days of because for like TCS, the crawler store back in the day, like comp crawler stuff. One of the early popular flat rail chassis I designed.
Was that you? What was it called? The
X-Trail.
Okay, no kidding.
Yeah, and to convert an AX10 into a scale truck, and it sold just thousands of those things.
That's crazy. But that's why I say it blows my mind that I know you do this full time and then still keep doing this. I mean, you have your channel, so you have your stuff to do with that.
Right.
But man, I don't know how you guys. But I've also been doing this since I was 12 years old. That's all I've ever done. My hobby turned into my career, and that's all it's been has been RC stuff. So I'm 50 now. I get a little burned out and just kind of like, I'm gonna. That's why I bought that stupid Grom, and I have this pickup truck. And I just do other types of things because I just don't want to mess with my RC cars after hours.
It's good to have an
still mountain biking quite a bit too.
Yeah, well, some would argue if I have been riding, but yes, I do ride my bike once in a while. Just not a lot lately. And this freaking working from home stuff is not helping, dude. It's 4 Eggo waffles in the morning with syrup and butter and oh man, and just cookies. And dude, I'm gonna put on another 15 pounds here before this is over.
Oh man,
it's bad.
Well, listen, guys,
and I know you've been on your diet, so you've been good.
I've lost 10 pounds since I started working at home.
I had pizza for lunch today.
Fantastic.
I
am gonna say though. Well, mostly. I am gonna say that this stream on my end is performing really poorly. I think I'm just annoying people more than anything. So I'm gonna cap it off on my side, but I'm gonna continue to chat with you guys. So at least Josh will have a feed. Okay. So at least everyone can go over there.
Another really good question. This one is a questionable if you'll be able to answer.